Hey guys, Brad of 1894 Outdoors. Welcome to a new video. So a few months ago, I purchased the Nokta Makro Simplex Plus. And at the time, it was the brand new hot detector. Everybody was talking about it. And over the last 4 months, nothing's changed. Everyone is still really excited about it. And there's a good reason for that. It's a fantastic detector. And since I bought it, I've used it every weekend. I've racked up hundreds of hours of use, and I've learned an absolute ton of what it has to offer, and also how to use it. So today I'm going to give you guys a full review, as well as kind of go through what I've learned and how to set up the detector and just use it. So here we go. So before we begin, I want to tell you a little bit about the Simplex Plus. So the Simplex boasts that for an entry-level price, you're getting a machine that can compete with the top brands. And that couldn't be more true. The Simplex is a fantastic machine for the price, and I've absolutely loved using it. Some of the reasons I love using it are how user-friendly it is and the different settings. It's really easy to pick it up and go. There's different modes such as park and field, which really give you an idea of how to set it up. Makes it really simple. It also has some fantastic settings such as notch discrimination, as well as different tones for different signals. It's also completely waterproof, which is a huge perk in a metal detector, and it also vibrates, which doesn't seem like a very useful setting, but if you're diving, you can't hear the tones, and the vibration lets you know when you're on a signal. So I feel that the Simplex has a lot of great qualities, and I think throughout the rest of this review, you guys will see that too. To begin, we're going to go through all the settings that the Simplex has to offer. Now, what I love about the Simplex is that it is easy enough for a novice detectorist to get out and go. You turn it on, put it on park mode, and you can go find stuff and have a good time. But it's also complicated enough that an experienced detectorist can dial it in to where they are, and they can really use this machine to the best of its ability and feel like that they're getting exactly what they want out of their detector. So the first thing is we have all these different buttons, the power button, the arrow keys to move the different modes. We have the select button and then the cog, which lets us go through the settings. So we're going to start with the cog. This is our volume. I tend to keep it on 2. We have our ground balance, which we'll go over in a little bit. Iron audio, which when I am detecting, I tend to use 1 so that I can still hear the iron in the ground and I don't miss tones, but it's not overwhelming with lots of grunting. Next, we have the notch discrimination. So with this, we can go through these top tones up here where the arrow is, and we can select what we no longer want to hear. So if you're digging a lot of shotgun shells and they're ringing up like 45, 50, you use notch discrimination, you go to where the 45 would be, you click it off. Now you won't hear that tone anymore. And all of these boxes up here go by 5s, so 5, 10, 15, 20. So it's going to knock out 45 to 50 if you select the notch that I selected. Next we have our frequency. Now I haven't updated the Simplex to where there's 5 frequencies. I tend to run mine on frequency 1 because of the pinpointer I have, but you can change this based on the detectors that are around you as well as the pinpointers, because you might get interference if someone else is using, say, a Simplex next to you, or certain pinpointers will make the Simplex not happy. It'll start beeping like crazy. Next we have our wireless headphone sync, vibration, which we can turn on and off, which is fantastic if you're detecting underwater. We have our brightness, which I normally run all the way down, but for the video, I have it maxed out. If we click it to the A, it's auto, so it'll turn off when we're not using the detector, but if we would get a tone, or we click a button, it comes right back on. So we'll turn that back off. And then finally, we have the flashlight. So if you're detecting at night, click the flashlight button, you'll be able to see what you're doing. Next, we're going to go over the different search modes. So to do that, we're going to use these arrow keys. We have all metal mode, field mode, park mode, and beach mode. Now, I do not have much experience using beach mode or all metal mode because I live in Northeast Pennsylvania, so I'm mostly hunting towns and in the forest or in fields. All metal mode is going to set everything to have the same tone. So iron's going to ring up the same as silver. So the majority of the time, you're not going to be using that when you're out detecting. Next is field mode. Field mode allows you to detect a lot deeper than the other modes would, but it's not going to be as good at discriminating through like iron or garbage. So if you're in a real like iron rich area, like a house foundation, or in a park like in town, then you're going to want to use park mode, not field mode. Park mode is going to be for, like I said, those trashy areas like in town where there's lots of iron nails, there's lots of cans. It's going to help discriminate out those tones and separate them so that you can find those coins that are buried in the towns. And then finally, we have the beach mode, which I have not had much experience with, but from what I've seen online, it works pretty good. And that is going to be for when you're in a real sandy and salty area. So that is all our settings. And I absolutely love the settings on the Simplex. And to end, we're just going to talk about the different things you'll see on the screen. So we have our sensitivity, which we raise up and down using the arrow keys. We have our target ID, which will pop up right here in the middle. We have the battery, and then finally the depth, which is going to be displayed in bars. So 1 bar being right on the surface, maximum bars being very deep, up to like 8 to 10 inches plus. So that is all the settings on the Simplex. We're going to move on to the next part of the video. All right, now that we've learned the basics of how to use the Simplex, I'm going to go over how I set up my detector and what I have found to work the best when I'm out. So if I was in an area like this, out in the middle of the woods or in a field, I would switch over to field mode. And if I was in an area like this, I would be looking for any target that I can find to show me that I'm in a place where there could be relics and coins. So because of that, I would have my iron all the way up. Then I would set my frequency to 1, and I would ground balance by going to the ground balance setting, holding down the select key, and pumping the machine until I heard a beep like that. The reason that I use it set up like this is when I'm out, I'm looking for a new place to detect. So you want to hear all the sounds. That's why I have iron all the way up. Because if there's used to be a house, there's going to be iron, there's going to be nails, and it'll allow you to discover new places. Once I found a new place, I would then turn the iron down to 1. Because I still want to hear all the sounds that the detector's making and all the different target IDs it's reading, but I don't want it to be overwhelming with all the grunts. Now, things would be very different if I'm in town, in a park, or at a house. Then I'm always going to go to park setting, and I'm going to turn my iron audio to either 1 or completely off. Because if you're in town, you already know the location that you're detecting. You've already found the area that you want to detect. So you're not searching for a new place. And you want to get rid of all the additional sounds that are not necessary. So you're not going to be digging every iron tone. So you want to rule those out so that you can hear all the different high tones and midtones much more crisp and clear. So that is how I tend to run my Simplex. Based on where I am, I might tweak it a little bit. I might discriminate out some tones if I'm digging a lot of shotgun shells. But past that, that is how I would run it on the average day. When out detecting, there's a few accessories that are going to be really helpful, and I'm going to go over setting them up with the Simplex, which is very easy. If you ordered the wireless Simplex package, you would have received a very nice pair of wireless headphones, and I have loved these. They're very comfortable, they've been very durable, and they're easy to set up and turn on. So to begin, all you have to do is flip the switch on. Then there's a green button over here that you'll press, and you want to see a blue flashing light. Once that light is flashing, you go to the cog setting, press the button till you get to the wireless symbol. It'll be on 0. Turn it to 1, and now your headphones are paired, and you'll hear all your audio through the headphones rather than through the machine. Next, we're going to go over the pinpointers. Now, if you saw my first review, the first day I had the Simplex, kind of panicked and I didn't know what was going on. Turns out my pinpointer, and possibly your pinpointer, might be on the same frequency of the Simplex, but it's very easy to fix. Now, right now, I am on frequency 2. And get ready, when I turn on my pinpointer, Simplex isn't going to like it. That's because the white's Bullseye is on the same frequency as the Simplex. If I would use the Garratt pinpointer, which is another very common pinpointer, as you can see, there's also feedback. If I go to frequency 1, and turn it off frequency 2 to frequency 1 and turn on the pinpointer, there's still some feedback, but not as much. And when I use my white pinpointer, there tends to be no feedback. If you are receiving feedback, one of the best things you can do is lean your detector on your shovel when you're digging. So if you have once you have the plug dug, lean your detector on the shovel, and that helps with the pinpointer so it's not picking up on the detector. Now I'll make one recommendation. The pulse dive pinpointer, which I am going to be purchasing soon, is not on the same frequency as the Simplex, so you will get no feedback at all. And it also pairs with your wireless headphones. So if you're buying a Simplex and you're looking for a pinpointer, go with the pulse dive. It's a little pricier, but I think it'll be worth it because it's going to make your experience a lot better because there will not be feedback with your Simplex. Next up is going to be the target IDs as well as depth that the Simplex can read. So in order to do that accurately, I have set up 8 different targets that will ring up all differently across the spectrum of the detector, and it'll give you an idea of what kind of signals you can expect when you're finding good relics and coins. I've also set up 3 different depths using quarters that are all the same age, and all the soil is sand, so it should ring up pretty accurately, and it'll give an idea of how deep the Simplex can read. So to begin, we're going to start on a mini ball. Sensitivity is going to be all the way up. We're going to start on field mode all the way across, and then we'll come back and we'll do it on park mode as well. We'll ground balance it quick, and we'll begin. So the mini ball is going to read up 65 on field mode. Next up, I have a wheat penny, which is reading up 69.70. An Indian head cent, which rings up lower than the wheat penny at a 61. A buffalo nickel, which you won't dig often because they ring up 19.20, right above iron, kind of like a button. Next, I have a small silver, which is a mercury dime, ringing up high 70s, averaging price 77. Next, I have a silver quarter, 1964. Very solid 92. It's easy to tell when you have a quarter. Next, I have a walking Liberty, solid 95. And finally, I have a silver ring, which is ringing up 90 on the dot. So that was in field mode. Now we'll go through and we'll run it on park mode. And again, sensitivity is all the way up. You'll hear the squeaks will be a little higher when it's on park mode, so it'll sound a little bit different. 66 on the mini ball. 70 on the wheat penny. 65 on the Indian. 22 on the buffalo. 79 on the small silver, the mercury. 92 on the quarter. 95 on the walking Liberty, and I would expect the 90. 91 on the silver ring. So across the board on field mode and park mode, it's very consistent. The only difference is field mode will go deeper, while park mode is going to discriminate out a little bit more of the trash when you're in trashier areas. I tend to run on park mode the majority of the time. Next, we're going to go over the depths that the Simplex can read. In order to test the depth that the Simplex can pick up, I have set up 3 different stations, each using clad coins in sand, the first being 6 inches deep, the next being 8, and the final being 10. And in order to give the most accurate description, I'm going to be comparing against 2 other detectors. The first being an ACE 400, which is another entry-level detector costing very similar to what the Simplex cost. And the final is going to be an MTX All Pro made by Whites. This is a much higher end detector that is going to run you a lot more money than the Simplex would normally cost. I began detecting with the Ace 400, then I jumped to the White's MTX All Pro, and now I'm using the Simplex full time. So to begin, we'll use the Simplex. I'm going to be running it on field mode, sensitivity all the way up. The 6-inch quarter. Very nice, reads it great. The 8-inch. Strong target. It's not ringing up like a traditional quarter would at a 92 now, but it's still a target that I would dig. Finally, 10 inches deep. And the Simplex, it's getting a tone, but no target ID is coming up on the screen. Now we'll compare it to the Ace 400, which again is the next beginner detector. 6 inches. Very nice tone, bringing up at 88. 10 inches. Again, the tone has decreased, but it's still reading it very nicely, hitting it at 80. And finally, at 10 inches deep, nothing, no tone. Finally, we'll compare it to the White's MTX All Pro, which is the more professional detector. At 6 inches deep, nice high squeak. 8 inches deep, nothing. 10 inches deep, nothing. So I would say that out of the 3 detectors, the Simplex did the best. And the closest, surprisingly, was the Ace 400, which speaks very well about the Simplex and the Ace 400. Both of them did very well. None of the detectors rang up at 10 inches, but the Simplex did at least make a tone. While I probably wouldn't have dug it, it is still reading very deep in this sandy soil. So I'm very impressed by the Simplex, and I would say that out of the 3 detectors, it definitely performed the best. So now that I've completed my full review, it's time for me to give my honest opinion on the machine. And I can't say enough good about it. I think the Simplex is fantastic. For the price of the detector, you're getting a machine that competes with every top brand on the market today. Now, I'm not saying that it's better than the Equinox, and I'm not saying it's better than the Deus. I'm just saying that if you know what you're doing and you get over the target with the Simplex, you're gonna find it like any other machine. It's fantastic. I really enjoy using it, and I have not found one thing about it that I dislike, and I really do mean that. So if you're a new person who's trying to get into metal detecting and you're considering buying your first one, I would start with the Simplex. Fantastic price, it's easy to use, easy to jump in. And also, if you have been metal detecting for some time and you're looking to change detectors, try the Simplex. I don't think you'll be disappointed. So that's the end of my review. If you've made it this far, I'd really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. Would mean a lot. I get out, I make videos every single weekend, and I'd like to share that with you guys. So thank you for watching. I will hopefully see you guys next weekend. Have a good rest of your day.